The UK has become the first country in Europe to hit a new grim milestone, with coronavirus deaths passing 100,000. On average, more than 1,000 people are dying every day. PM Boris Johnson insists he's done everything possible to save lives.
I am deeply sorry for every life that has been lost, and of course, as Prime Minister, I take full responsibility for everything that the government has done.
Our UK correspondent Lucy McDonald is in London. Lucy, initially we should point out the UK government were talking about COVID deaths topping out at about 20,000 if things went roughly according to plan. How's the country handling the news you've just passed 100,000?
Well, it's completely shocking, but I also think there's a massive disconnect between what people think and the figures. People don't quite grasp it. That's so many people. It's 150 jumbo jet planes, but it just becomes another statistic almost. And I think there's been a real problem here with reporting on the pandemic, because we are the worst in Europe. Germany is a bigger country than us, and we have double the amount of deaths. And I don't think people quite grasp that this isn't just what happens in a pandemic. This is what happens in the UK in this pandemic. And we're nowhere near through this yet. We're in the middle of things still. We're still in lockdown. We're in winter. You know, there are going to be many more deaths to come.
And these are just official figures. We should point that out as well. I mean, who knows? When you hear news like this and you pass a milestone like that, how does that affect people's attitudes towards observing the lockdown?
I think it's very split. It's very divisive. Families and friends are doing things very differently. A lot of people I know are bending the rules. That can cause quite a lot of conflict. But I think by and large, you have stories in the newspaper of, an illegal rave in the East End of London or a wedding in North London of 300 people. But they are the exceptions, and we shouldn't point our finger at those people. We should be pointing our finger repeatedly at the government for their failure to keep us all safe. So I think the mood here is very low. My anger initially, which you've seen here on the project, has turned into sadness. And I think there's a huge mental health crisis coming. People are isolated, people are at home, people are lonely, people are scared.
Well, Boris did apologise and took responsibility today. How did that make you feel?
I don't accept that apology. I didn't think it was an apology. It was a sorry, but we've done everything we could. No, you haven't. There have been U-turns. There have been really poor decisions. There's been too little, too late. I almost think it's a PR stunt that he's apologising. There certainly will be, when this is all over, there'll be a public inquiry. He's obviously trying to look compassionate. He has not done everything he could. He has failed this country. Make no mistake about that.
Lucy, the government is set to announce a measure that we saw here in Australia, which is a hotel quarantine for international arrivals. How do the Brits feel about that?
Well, again, too little, too late. We're in Ireland. Why wasn't this done, nearly a year ago when the pandemic first broke? But of course it's welcome. I think Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, is making that announcement later today, so we'll find out the details then. But I think it's only going to be for high-risk countries. So the opposition is saying, why isn't it every country, which, I wholeheartedly agree with. But yes, quarantine, great idea. We should have had it many months ago.
Well, Victorians can tell you it's not a silver bullet, Lucy. It can go wrong, but all the best with it. Thank you very much for your thoughts tonight. From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.